Hi, very good morning. Actually, it's very tough to shoot a video in this sweltering heat. Neither can I switch on my AC because I had to have the sunlights in, and obviously if I keep sweating a lot, it won't make for a very good video. So and besides, this solar eclipse is not helping the light shade either. So excuse me for a very average looking video of mine. Anyway, so you know, post-colonialism, we are continuing with our post-colonial series. Probably this is the second part of the Poco series that I had started on popular demand from students and from colleagues and everyone. So post-colonialism, often runs the risk of making the post-colonial into a commodity for marketing and production in the first world. It and now why does it happen? It happens through certain stages and phases. And what are these phases that post-colonialism, while resisting grand narratives, becomes almost a grand narrative itself? That post-colonialism becomes a product to be sold, to be bought, to be uploaded, to be purchased as any other cultural commodity. Now, how does this happen? Or how does post-colonialism become a cultural materialism, as they call a cultural product? And it happens through internationalization of literature, happens through Booker Prize, happens through literary festivals. It happens through celebrification of Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak and Salman Rushdie and Amitabh Ghosh and the likes. And Indian writing in English. What is Indian writing in English? It is a kind of a chutneyfied product of post-colonial wing. I mean, why? Because of the tremendous amount of institutionalization of post-colonial theory. So when you institutionalize post-colonial theory, what happens? It no longer remains a theory. It becomes an institution in itself. And when it becomes an institution in itself, these Spivaks, these Rushdies, these Amitabh Ghoshes, and these others, they become literary super celebrities. They become almost academic superstars. They become literary celebrities. So this is how the celebrification of post-colonial thinkers, post-colonial professors, post-colonial lecturers, post-colonial writers keep on taking place. So they keep leaving India's for USA, they keep leaving India, they keep leaving Africa's for USA, they keep leaving Latin America's for USA, and they sit in the center, they sit in the New York Cities, the Manhattans, the Brooklyns, and Philadelphia's and Chicago's and California's, and they talk about the margin from USA. I mean, don't you think that this is slightly contradictory in itself? Don't you think that you keep talking about margin, and you yourself stay rooted, stay planted in center, and center? I mean, when I say center, The spelling of center is United States of America. Now, the publicity, the circulation of books, now the markets, the audiences of the first world. Okay, so students keep asking me, why do they live in USA and they talk about Bharatbarsha, they talk about Sri Lanka, they talk about Africa, they talk about Latin America. I'm telling you why they do it. Because there is a lucrative market in third world. So this third worldism is a strategy. So if I write my novels, I am Ghosh, I am Rusdi, if I write my novels, say from New York City and get it published from US and UK, and what it basically means is that I will have the huge market of Commonwealth countries to sell and publicize my books. So, postcolonialism, congratulations, postcolonialism is beautifully appropriated by capitalism, by cultural materialism, by late capitalism. So POCO has become, postcolonial has become a beautiful product in Amazon, beautiful product in Flipkart, beautiful product in anywhere, in a kind of a shopping and digital marketing. And what you do, you write books from USA, you publicize and sell them in India, in Africa, and you just milk the cow. And who are these cows that you are milking? The Indian readership, the African readership, the Australian readership, the Commonwealth readership. And you keep milking them, you keep churning money, you keep churning dollars, by the way. And these reading tours and these others, they do not help stop POCO from becoming a cultural commodity. Now, why, or should I say, when did it start happening? In the 1980s and 1990s, this institutionalization of post-colonial writer in the global literary market, where European literature once held monopolistic sway. Now, this is what I call appropriation of post-colonialism within capitalism, within global lucrative literary supermarket. And so POCO, post-colonial, becomes a cultural product to be produced, publicized, marketed, and made profit on across the international literary market, from center, Europe, USA, and to Orient's others, non-white readers and market. And these Rusdis and these Ghoshes and these Pibhaks, these Dipesh Chakrabortis, and they, USA keep offering them awards and rewards one after the other. The Bookers, the Man Bookers, the Pulitzers, and everything. And these are the incentives from first world to appropriate the third world intellectuals within the first world capitalism. And this is where the Commonwealth, Rushdie himself has pointed out, ceases to exist, and post-colonialism takes over. But unfortunately, by the time post-colonialism is taking over, unfortunately it is becoming a bit of a commodity. And so what is post-colonialism? Is it a counter-narrative? Yes, it is a counter-narrative, but it is now such a counter-narrative that in itself it has become a grand narrative. So okay, let me give you an example of Edward Said. What Edward Said is saying, Edward Said is talking about ignorance of the natives, the effeminacy, the laziness, the indolence, oversized nature, the untrustworthiness, the uncultured, savage, barbaric, and the stereotypification of the colonized, and the Europeans as the masculinized, as the rational protector, like the Iron Man, like the Thor, like the heroes of Marvel Cinematic Universe protecting the universe and the galaxy. They are the Avengers. So the Vasco da Gamas, the Columbuses, so the Amerigo Vespuccis, they are not voyagers or discoverers. They are the Thors and the Iron Mans and the Lokis and everything. They are the Vasco da Gamas and the Columbuses. They are the Avengers. What America is using the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe heroes, to consolidate American imperialism, the England did with English literature, the stereotypification of Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe and Man Friday, and so many others. We are reading John Donne's Spices and Mines in Sunrising, we know that India is a khazana, is a voluptuous lady waiting to be raped and exploited and dug. So we know this Julia Kristeva's abject as the can be applied as the Orient, but we understand Orient is typified as abject, as passive, and Occident as typified as active, as masculine, and so this gendering, so Orient is gendered feminine and the Occident is gendered masculine. So we have understood this Edward Saidian Orientalization. But Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak has beautifully pointed out that if this Saidian Orientalism as a stereotypification code are to be accepted, then does that mean Australia, all the Commonwealths are the Orient? Australia is the same Orient that India is. India is the same Orient that Africa is, or Africa is the same Orient that Latin American countries are. So are there no differences within these small narratives of Commonwealths and Orients? So how could Edward Said bring the entire Orient or entire Commonwealth existence under the huge umbrella of Orientalism? Because what Said is doing, Said is essentializing the strategic differences within those Orients. And this is where post-colonial theory needs to be a little careful of. Careful of what? Careful of not homogenizing the multiple diversities and differences of Orients as a grand narrative of Orientalism. So while creating a counter narrative, an alternative discourse of grand narrative, you are creating one more grand narrative. So while countering a grand narrative, what you are doing, you are creating one more grand narrative. And that is where the counter intuition needs to take effect. Because Poco theory must recognize the heterogeneity, the boichitro, the variety of post-colonial cultures. And Spivak's argument, therefore, is valid critique of Edward Saidian version of the Orient and Orientalism. And Spivak basically is stressing on variations among experiences of oppression. What Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak is stressing, he is stressing on the variations among experiences of oppression. And what she is basically saying is that Indian Orient is not necessarily similar to African Orient, or African Orient is not necessarily similar to Australia, or is it necessarily similar to Latin America. So if we don't respect the variations and the versions of these multiple experiences within the Orients, you are running the risk of converting Orientalism into one more grand narrative while ironically fighting against the grand narrative. But Edward Said ended up homogenizing all versions and variations of experiences of oppression in the form of Orientalism. Congratulations! So Orientalism, while creating a counter narrative against Occident, becomes a grand narrative in the process. Congratulations to Edward Said for creating one more grand narrative, and thank you Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak for introducing what I call deconstructionist critical reading to Edward Saidian Orientalist discourse. Thank you. So this takes us very closer to probably one series of videos on post-structuralism and deconstruction. Thank you. Take care, and we will surely meet you again.